Yo, what is going on YouTube? Year One Blink here, back with another new Destiny 2 news video for you guys. So we got the brand new Arc 3.0, the first look at it right here. Bungie just posted today, Wednesday at 8 o'clock. With the inspiration from Crank to High Voltage, Arc 3.0 is all about speed and impact. Arc 3.0 preview. So there you guys go, the Arc 3.0. We're going to check it out right now, see what it's all about. And we're going to go to the link. Bring the thunder inside Arc 3.0. Bring the thunder inside Arc 3.0. Destiny dev team. Like the inevitable lightning that follows storm clouds, Arc 3.0's time has finally arrived in 2022. The original trio of elemental subclass that powers Guardians and Destiny 2 have been undergoing a major overhaul. Void was the first subclass to get the 3.0 treatment with the launch of the Witch Queen expansion. Season of the Haunted welcomes Solar 3.0, and soon it will be time for Arc Wielders to receive their upgrades. The Destiny 2 development team has been hard at work on this subclass revamp, excuse me, making sure that the new version of the Arc subclass brings the thunder. Having lead subclass redesigns with Void and Solar, the team has spent a great deal of time zeroing in on the essence of what subclass revamp is all about, making sure that every aspect of the gameplay and every ability feature fits into the player fantasy. To get there, it all starts with inspiration. Arc is really just go fast and hit stuff, said Destiny designer Sam Dunn. When asked about the core fantasy of powered the Arc 3.0 revamp, we call it the whole W subclass. Everything is built around moving forward and enabling aggression in those abilities. Ooh. Am I going to be able to blink? Imagine blink on the hunter. Powering that high speed and high impact goal, one of the prime inspirations of Arc 3.0 was the 2009 action movie Crank to High Voltage. The madcap action flick stars Jason Statham and his ex-hitman who has his heart stolen and replaced with a battery. To stay alive, Statham must keep his body electrically charged in increasingly outrageous ways. It's non-stop, relentless, and it's a great place to start for the fantasy the team wanted to achieve, namely ridiculous closing speed and maximum impact upon arrival. We had a lot of ideas about, you get this buff, and then much like Jason Statham's heart, you need to keep ticking by staying in the fight, said Destiny designer Mike Humboldt. As the design evolved, we stayed a bit from that just because it's hard to achieve that in gameplay of Destiny, where you're deleting 75 monsters in a room and then running through a hallway. But that was emotional fantasy that we wanted to go for, very much like living on the edge. Those Guardians who have spent time with the revamped versions of Void and Solar, or with Stasis for that matter, know the basics from where to begin with Arc 3.0, as with those other subclass options. Arc 3.0 will give players more flexibility over customizing their Guardian's powers to suit their playstyle through the introduction of aspects and fragments. In addition, new and returning class and melee abilities have been built to refactored for the modern Destiny 2 sandbox, making a subclass more powerful than ever. Lighting up new abilities. Before we dive into the class-specific Arc abilities, let's talk about the buffs and debuffs that are key to the Arc 3.0 experience. First up is the new buff Amplified, which is a key to the Arc 3.0 experience. Amplified Guardians is faster, both in terms of movement and speed, in terms of weapon handling, and more agile, able to perform long slides that can function as devastating setup for some of the attacks that follow. Ooh, okay. Unlike other damage type buffs, Void Invisibility or Solar's Radiant, players don't need to equip specific aspects or fragments to become amplified. By default, all Arc classes become amplified after rapidly defeating targets with Arc damage, and equipped aspects and fragments offer additional ways to become benefit from being amplified. After sprinting for a few seconds, Amplified Guardians will gain another boost in speed. As the designer Mike Humboldt put it, basically as fast as we can make our sprint animation go. So you basically become Sonic. Gaining a sizable PvE damage resistance buff, enabling an even longer slide ability ability. Imagine full-on Metroid speed booster mode. Only Samus is now wielding a Gjallarhorn. Even a player is no longer amplified. As long as they keep sprinting, the speed booster buff will stay active. Oh, okay. In development, speed booster probably took the longest for me to get on the board, but with that, you were already moving faster to begin with, said Humboldt. When asked about the process of developing and refining the verbs of Arc 3.0, adding PvE, damage resistance, and speed booster to cement it as a strong gap closing tool, seeing it being used to move from one cover to another, and the next playtesting really brought it all together for me. You start sprinting and then you hear the audio start to come up, and then you're like jet engine rocketing around the arena. It's awesome. On the debuff side, Arc 3.0 is bringing two to the party: Blind and Jolt. Blinded opponents in PvE won't be able to see naturally and will also be disoriented and unable to fire their weapon. In PvP, blinded opponents will have their screen whited out and their HUD removed for a short period of time, alongside ringing audio effects simulating the ringing of ears and flashbang explodes. Jolted opponents who are damaged will be periodically send slivers of chain lightning out to nearby enemies, damaging them in the process. That's pretty cool. If you for 6v6, you can get those multi kills, you know. Arc 3.0 also Democratus Ionic Traces, which were previously available only in Middle Tree Warlocks, now available to all. Traces are objects that, when collected, will add energy to all your abilities. Now that you're familiar with the basics, let's jump into the classes themselves and see how they'll be making the most of Arc 3.0. So we got the Hunter up first. So Hunter. A hunter dashing forward, crackling with arc lightning is sight to sure to strike fear in the heart of the enemy. As with the previous subclass revamps, the team had definite images in mind when considering the new arc should feel like in combat. For Hunter, the team imagined a graceful warrior monk, giving the Hunter ability to get close quarters quickly and effectively make a mess of their opponents in the process. For Hunters, we wanted to reward staying in close and being safe while you're close quarters with an enemy, which is very difficult to do in a lot of our content, said Humboldt. We want to give them tools to stay alive while they close the gap or were in a melee combo. That came primarily with the form of giving them crowd control tools. To that end, the Hunter's Arc Staff is returning. With the Arc Staff, Hunters will be able to block, deflect projectiles with a press of a button, as well as perform a armored dodge where, upon dodging, the Hunter is more resistant to incoming fire. But one super just doesn't seem like enough for the team. Thus, the introduction of a brand new arc-themed super, the Gathering Storm here. The Hunter leaps into the air, hurling a staff into the ground or into the unlucky enemy like a spear. Upon impact, the staff emits damaging burst that jolts nearby enemies. Soon after, a giant bolt lightning strikes his staff, overcharges it, creating a large damage zone for several seconds. While overcharged, the staff sends out arcs of lightning, damage any enemies that move near it. So they're getting a new super? What? That's broken. On the melee side, the team kept the Hunter's combination blow ability, feeling like it was right in the line with the graceful warrior fantasy that we're doing for. Kills with combination blow will refund the dodge and energy, increase melee damage, and restore a small amount of health, allowing skilled hunters to chain those dodge and melee attacks into ballistic bursts of beautiful fury. In addition, disorienting blow melee returns, blinding opponents with a devastating palm attack, while also now amplifying the hunter along the way. Hunters will be able to choose from these three arc aspects to customize their tactical style. Flow state. Defeating a jolted opponent, it causes you to become amplified. When amplified, the hunter's dodge will recharge faster and make you more resistant to damage, and you have quicker reload times. Tempest Strike allows the hunter to perform a sliding melee that launches an arc wave along the ground, dealing significant damage and jolting enemies in its path. Probably gonna go with Flow State, honestly. And then this third one, Lethal Current. This one might be good. After dodging, the hunter's melee lunge ranges increase, and their next melee attacks jolts that target creates a damaging lightning aftershock. When used with these arc staff super after dodging, the hunter's next staff light attacks hit twice. In addition, hitting jolted enemies with a melee attack will blind them. Lethal Current's pretty good too as well. Finally, in a particular note, Arc 3.0 will also bring back the Blink movement mode for Arc Hunters. Let's go! Let's go! Blink's coming back! Thank you, Bungie. And the fact that Blink ability will also include the baseline buff for any class that has access to it. Looking at you, Void Warlocks. Wait, let's read that again. Finally, and of particular note, Arc 3.0 will also bring back Blink movement mode for Arc Hunters, and the fact that Blink ability will also include a baseline buff for any class that has access to it. So it gives you a buff too if you use Blink. Blink hasn't really been touched since Destiny 2's release and never quite reached the heights of its previous reign of terror, Humboldt said. We felt like this was a good time to walk a few of the tuning changes back a little and bring back Blink's potency at baseline up without needing an exotic equipped. And in practical terms, that means an increased travel distance and a reworked recharge model for the ability that will keep it fresh while maintaining its effectiveness. So you don't need Astrocyte Verse to be OP with Blink. You're going to be traveling farther, and they're basically buffing Blink again. Let's go, baby. And Blink is on the Hunter, the Arc class. Let's go. All right, Warlock. Player fantasies don't come any more vivid than what the team had in mind for Arc 3.0's. Two separate images were top of mind: Lightning Shaman and Emperor Palpatine on full Lightning Fingers mode while turning Luke Skywalker into burnt toast. We wanted the player to feel like they were channeling power to storm through their body, said Dunn. Controlling the storm, controlling lightning like an elemental conduit. So I did an Arc Super, I did the Wrist Runner, and but I'm gonna do a when Arc 3.0 comes out, I'm gonna do a redo of that. Two supers will be available for Warlocks: Chaos Reach, where players will be able to shoot concentrated beams of arc energy out of their hand to decimate opponents, and Storm Trance, which is more akin to the image of Palpatine floating around the world, firing electricity from their fingers. This super combines both landfall behavior and previous bottom tier arc, creating a damaging shockwave underneath players. An ionic blink behavior from old top tree arc, allowing Warlock to teleport briefly during a super. So yeah, ionic blink's coming back, looks like. Warlocks will have two melees available, both utilizing power of lightning. The ball of lightning melee will send out floating ball of arc energy that detonates, zapping enemies down from above. Chain lightning will send out arcs of lightning to strike and jolt the primary target to chain damage to surrounding enemies in the process. Pretty cool. The Warlock's whole thing is being amplified modifies their abilities. It powers them up, said Dunn. For the ball of lightning, if you're amplified, the arc ball will fly out and zap enemies 3 times instead of just the normal 1 time. So you can get more damage out of it. For chain lightning, it chains more targets more specifically, while normal chain lightning creates a single set of chains that bounce between a set number of targets. When amplified, the ability creates 2 sets of chains and can potentially jump to twice the number of enemies. So it's times 2. 3 aspects will be available for Warlocks: Arc Soul, Lightning Surge, and Electrostatic Mine. Beginning with Arc Soul, the Warlock casts a rift to create an Arc Soul that will assist the player in battle. Allies who pass through the rift will also earn the Arc Soul. The rift charges faster when allies are near and while amplified. Any Arc Soul you have or gain is supercharged, increasing the rate of fire. That's OP. Lightning Surge. The Warlock activates their melee while sliding to transform into a ball of lightning and teleport forward, calling down a field of lightning bolts and exit point that jolt the targets. Lightning Surge looks OP. Teleport, what? Okay. Electrostatic Mine. Arc ability kills and arc kills are debuffed enemies create ionic traces. When you collect any ionic trace, you become amplified. So there you go. There's the Warlock. Last but not least, we got the Titan. Titans have traditionally been known as paragons of mobility, but with Arc 3.0, team is shaking things up. The teams had a couple inspirations in the mind for the Arc revamp. The lead with your fist, bare knuckle brawler, and freight train. You don't get to move the Arc Titan, Humboldt said. They move you. The Arc Titan's ultimate goal is to punch you in the face, and so a lot that we did for the Arc Titan was to try to figure out how to facilitate fist-to-fist contact as much as possible. That desire to punch all things manifests in a couple of devastating supers that are returning for the Arc 3.0 Fist of Havoc Thunder Crash. While the latter is particularly unchanged from before, Fist of Havoc now has adjusted slam radius that's halfway between top and bottom path. And now the ground slam leaves a damaging field in wake while slamming from the air, causing damage AoE effect from previous top tree behavior. So they're kind of buffing, looks like, the striker. In case of Thunder Crash and other abilities, uncoupling a subclass abilities from the old subclass Diamond system will result in some substantial buffs depending on how the players use it. It's one of the intrinsic advantages with the new subclass 3.0 system brings to Destiny. When you start pairing them with different things, even though nothing's changed about the actual ability, they can end up getting significantly stronger as a result because they aren't locked into canned set of perks that surround them, Humboldt said. Thunder Crashes is a great example of that. One of the biggest changes to the Arc Titan is the new Thruster class ability. What? By double tapping a button, the Titan bursts into the throttle direction at speed, performing a quick first-person evade, kind of like Twilight Garrison, it looks like. Comparable to the distance to the Hunter's dodge. Arc is a damage type that is about mobility, so we were going to add mobility boosts everywhere for Titans. It was going to be here, said Humboldt. For melee attacks, Titans will retain the Seismic Strike, Shoulder Charge, which blinds enemies performing a Seismic Strike, while Amplify will increase the radius of the blind, and blinding effect will last longer. Ballistic Slam also returns, where players can slam the ground after sprinting in the air, creating a damaging explosion upon impact. Those returning melees will be joined by brand new charged attack known as the Thunderclap. What? Here, the Titan holds the melee button and charges up arc energy that can unleash in either quick, powerful jab or held and builds up, to be unleashed in the furious One Punch Man style blast that will devastate an opponent. That's pretty cool. They watch One Punch Man? Damage is significant. A 90% charge Thunderclap will one-shot Guardians in PvP, but the reward will be balanced by the time we build up to the charge level. In fact, that you remain stationary and charge, always dangerous move in PvP. Alright, like the other subclasses, Arc 3.0 Titans will have 3 aspects to select from. Touch of Thunder, Juggernaut, and Knockout. Starting with Touch of Thunder, improves arc grenades in the following ways. Flashbang fires an additional blind impulse on its first bounce. Pulse, when a grenade damages an enemy, it creates an ionic trace for the Titan. Pulse grenade damage increases over time as the grenade lingers after impact. Lightning grants an additional charge for lightning grenade and jolts targets on an additional blast. Storm creates a roaming thundercloud that moves and tracks enemies, similar to Stasis Hunter's Silence of Squall super, firing lightning bolts at the ground underneath it. Juggernaut. While sprinting with the full class ability energy, the Titan gains a frontal shield that blocks incoming damage. When amplified, the shield is stronger. Once the shield is depleted by taking damage, the player's class energy is depleted. Knockout. Melee kills trigger health regeneration and make the Titan amplified. Critically wounding an enemy or breaking their shields increases melee range and damage for a brief time. Titan's base melee becomes arc empowered while Knockout is active. Those are pretty OP for people who like to melee a lot. To complement the class-specific aspects, Arc 3.0 will introduce the suite of new fragments which offer new perks to build upon, as well as bonuses or penalties to your Guardian's intrinsic stats. Here's what to look for and fragments to come. Sparks of Beacon, Sparks of Resistance, Sparks of Momentum, and Spark of Shock. So Spark of Beacons, when the player's amplified arc special weapon kills create a blinding explosion. Spark Resistance, when surrounded by enemies, the player has increased damage resistance. Spark of Momentum, sliding over ammo will reload your weapon and grant a small amount of melee energy. Sliding over heavy increases the amount of energy granted. Spark of shock. The player's arc grenades jolt enemies. Yeah, so I either probably go with Spark of Beacon, Spark of Resistance, or Spark of Shock. In all, the changes that are coming to 3.0 will give Guardians more ways to bring the pain to the enemy's humanity, while also letting players customize Guardian to the way they want. Fans will have their first chance to see Arc 3.0 in action in next week's Destiny 2 showcase, which is coming August 23rd, starting 9 a.m. Pacific. Check out the showcase reveal page to learn more. And that's it, guys. That is the Arc 3.0. In all actuality, the Hunters, I think, got treated the best in this update. Well, from what I see. Titans, I guess, too. Like, second best. The Hunters are going to get Blink. They're going to get a new super and all kinds of stuff. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in the next content. And hopefully, yeah, subscribe. See you guys later. Peace out.